Hey guys, welcome back to the, oh my gosh, really? The Hot Break Craft BeerCast.
I think that's too much of a tongue twister. We should just be like, welcome back
To the Hot Break.
to the shit show.
Welcome back to the shit show. That is awful. No, we're going to go with it. No, we're actually live on location here at
Lake Pleasant.
Jesus. We did a warm-up beer, and apparently it's gone to my head.
We're at Lake Pleasant Brewing Company.
Lake Pleasant Brewing Company. This
one
is
of our favorite hangouts.
It is. No, we love coming here. Nick and Dustin were kind enough to let us set up, actually, sort of in the brewery. You can see the tanks behind us, and they got a couple barrels, I guess you'd call them. I got to ask him what's in those. I think he told us last time. I don't recall what he's aging in there, but they're supposed to tap it.
It's been a while, so we don't really know.
But no, we're excited to be here. We got a good episode for you guys today. Before we kind of jump into it, I appreciate you being here with me, and it's going to be a fun episode. So stick around.
Completely unscripted, delightfully unfiltered, and 100% fun. Sit back, relax, and get ready to have a great time as they bring you the latest in beer news, BeerCast brewing updates, and general shenanigans. And now, your hosts, the famed Brew Crew.
All right, so this is our second episode being on site in a brewery.
Yes.
Doing our broadcast, so we're actually excited to be here. So again, forgive some of the background noise. We're doing it out in the open with people all around, so it's been good. The last episode we did was actually a lot of fun. I enjoyed it. A little unnerving because I'm not used to being out of the studio doing this. I feel like a wild animal that's like, or a caged animal that's out in the wild.
The hardest part about that was we were set up like right in the front of like the actual bar, so it was like everyone.
We were on stage. almost literally on stage. No, that was a lot of fun.
It was so fun.
But we are excited to be here. It's been actually not that long since the last episode, but it's good to get back together and enjoy some beers. And we love Lake Pleasant Brewing Company. So, Kristy, what are you drinking today from Lake Pleasant Brewing Company?
I'm drinking a Diamondback IPA, which is my go-to every time I come here. It's amazing.
That is a good IPA.
But the problem is that like every time I come here, there's a new beer that comes up, and it's like, oh, I need to try that.
They have a lot of new beers that come up frequently. They do keep a lot of their stuff on tap, which is really good.
I will say this, though, that no matter what you order, it is true to style, and it is a good beer. Like
that is one of the things I like about Lake Pleasant. Their styles are rock solid. Like their classic styles. I think I've even mentioned this before on the podcast. Like they're out of this world. They are just solid, clean, fantastic. Nick, who does most of the brewing, is not afraid to explore. He's got a couple sours. He's done some seltzers. He's done some other things. But man, his lineup is just solid. I myself am having the Schwartz beer, which is just
they
absolutely
serve it in the beautiful mug too.
Fantastic. Can I get a cheers from you here before we continue?
Yes, of course. Always.
Cheers. Thank you. Nick and Dustin are both behind the bar tonight, and of course they're always here. They're always slinging beers. Like I see them here every time we come here. They're here working, which is not a bad thing. And they're always talking to people. Hopefully Nick will be joining us here in about maybe 5 minutes or so. He might pop in and out a little bit. We'll set aside some time at a later date to really sit and talk to him. But we really wanted to get a feel for the space because we want to continue to broadcast from here and other breweries around the valley. So you'll see us kind of here and there. So I think it'll be a lot of fun.
Yeah, this has been a great experience. And it's nice because on a night that's quiet, we have a little space. But the coolest part is we're in the area where there's like cornhole and like
oh yeah, they've got the video games.
Yeah, it's a very family-esque. We will,
They've got the cornholing beanbag game for those that are not initiated. Here actually next to the brewery, it's actually right in front of our table. You guys can't see it right now. They've got the video games and things kind of rolling over there.
Yeah.
It's a very open environment, but it is a very family-friendly environment, which is nice. We see families and stuff here all the time with their kids kind of playing the games and doing their thing. So we're very excited to be here today.
I think this is like honestly, top 3 of my favorite Arizona breweries, at least, if not the top. When you actually came here first, and I didn't know about it, and then you described it, I'm like, okay, I need to go here.
Well, they just passed their 1-year anniversary. In February, so about a month ago, depending on when this airs. And so they'd done some great beers as a special tribute to their 1-year anniversary. Hopefully we can get Nick a little bit of time, and I'd love to ask him some questions about his anniversary and things. I'm a little disappointed that we weren't here a little bit sooner. We knew about them. We were so busy with things we could never make it out, and I'm so glad that we did. They're so welcoming. They're so awesome. It's a really, really cool place.
I would recommend it 100%.
Definitely,
yeah.
100%.
So,
How was your week, Kristy? What's new and exciting with you? Anything?
Well, it's been crazy, but good.
Okay.
Yeah.
Ben and Brewing's been going pretty well. I think our YouTube is up to 659? 559.
Yes.
We haven't hit 600 yet. We're getting there, though, but it's actually come up
It's
pretty
really fast.
Pretty big.
Someone left a comment. Did you see that about your ice spindle video?
They did. Yeah. Someone, I did a comparison of the, and for those of you that don't brew or that do, there's two different electronic floating hydrometers. Not hygrometer, hydrometer, again, warm up beer, that basically float in your beer and they tell you what the gravity is so you know when all the sugars are gone and it's ready to ferment or ready to keg or bottle or whatever you're doing. So we like the tilt, which we've used before. That there's the ice spindle, which is kind of a do-it-yourself. You got to solder the thing together and build it, and it's actually quite a project, but it's very, very cool. So somebody left a comment on that saying that I didn't specify how accurate they were. I haven't responded yet, but it's a great question. Although we did talk about it in the tilt review.
Yeah.
We did. I didn't want to talk about it in the ice spindle just because it depends on what board you get and how you tune it and how
That's
accurate it is.
That's going to be a good talking head video for you.
Ooh, I hadn't thought of that. More to come. Stay tuned on YouTube. I'm going to do a talking head. That's a great idea.
Because I think that talking heads are becoming more like, this is what we're answering the viewers' questions about stuff. So
that'll be more to come with that. Yeah, we try to do a mailbag, and we get quite a few questions on things. So it's fun to go back and answer those and talk to the people that are following the channel. There's been some great conversations with them. It's a lot of fun. So more stuff to come with this as we continue to go around the valley and broadcast from the brewers. Or the breweries, I should say, and then hopefully, fingers crossed, if we can figure out the technology, we'll start live streaming this as well, so you guys can join in real time. And if we have the brewers with us, we'll take comments and answer questions.
Yes.
It'll be fun. So I'm excited.
I think that we should dive into our topic.
Let's dive into it.
It's a very heated conversation.
Let's get into it. Kristy, what do we got today?
So my question to you is,
oh boy.
Okay, everyone has those questions that you philosophically ask your best friends, like, so this is what would happen if, or blah blah blah. You are 190, like 1,000,000,000% into brewing and owning your own place and blah, blah, blah. My question to you is, if you had an establishment that was well off and someone offered you the deal, the AB InBev deal, where it's
the AB InBev?
Yeah.
Would I take it?
Would you sell it? Like Four Peaks did in Arizona. Like a lot of Japanese, or was it Ballast Point? Some brewery from the America signed with like Sapporo or something for a shit ton of money. Excuse me, you'll have to blurb that out. But
I usually do, especially when you're on. Like it's a constant stream of
you. Anyway, so the question is, what would be the deal? Would you sell out?
That's a good question. Not owning a brewery, I don't know. I'd like to think that I'd be like, no, absolutely not. I will stay true to the small craft beer. But you have so many of them that sell out. I shouldn't say sell out, that sell.
That was what it was
They're
used to
breweries,
call,
you know what I mean?
Selling out. Yeah.
But there's so many that sell that have been around for so long and have been so successful. It makes you wonder, like, once you get on the other side of the counter, once you get out of the garage and into the actual industrial professional brewing, I know it's a lot of work. I know it's a big capital investment, but and maybe they don't advertise the people that turn it down. That they're like, I will buy you for $300 million. So like, no, I can't. I must stay true to my brewing roots.
You do know that like everyone in the company ends up suffering from it too. That's the worst part.
How do you mean?
Because you end up having to lose like. A lot of times you have to downsize your company, right? So like.
Well, you and I both are working in the corporate environment, and so it's very much, it's no longer a small business. So when you sell out the brand and the business, that's a fair point. That suddenly now the P&L becomes your god. It's no longer about the people that are working and the character behind, or the story behind, or the people behind the bar. Now it becomes about that bottom line. Not that I blame the big companies, or because there's investors and they have to answer to those stakeholders that are there.
Yeah. But think about it, like, if you put your blood, sweat, and tears into a company and it suddenly could be bought out for X amount of dollars, would you do it? I don't know.
I think it depends on the situation you're in. I mean, if you're strapped for cash and you've been doing it for 20 years and every month is you're barely hanging on and surviving, and there's no way you can get out of your business.
Ballast Point was almost bought out for like $1 billion. Not that much, but it was like one of the biggest buyouts. A company like Ballast Point.
They were pretty big, though. They weren't really a small...
They were one of the first. They are probably the beer brewery that got me into craft beer.
Yeah, their Sculpin's pretty... Or the
It was
Prettier
before
Fish that
that.
we brew is very similar
No,
to
but
that.
it was
It's very good.
it was before that. They had like some beers that I don't know. I get why they do it.
Like I said, if there was a brewery and we were scraping by every month... Let me finish my...
Okay,
I will
sorry.
slap you. Sorry. I'm going to edit that out. No, I'm not. No, if I had a brewery that was being successful, my employees were happy, we were making good money, and everything was chugging along, would I sell out? Probably not to a big company. Because why? The culture's good, the people are great, you enjoy what you do, so why would you sell out no matter what the price is? You have a purpose, you're fulfilled, and money doesn't solve all problems. So why would you sell out? It doesn't make sense to me if you've got something that is so amazing. The reason I think a lot of these breweries sell out, I think it was because brewing is a tough industry. I mean, supply chain issues and staffing and the cost of goods and shipping and the alcohol laws and all of that. And I wonder if, as some of these companies have been around for a while, like the Four Peaks or the Sculpins or they look at that as, this is my way out of this industry, because otherwise I can't. Everything that I'm making today is going to be paid for next month, and so you're constantly chasing, you're constantly behind the eight ball. And I don't know if that's how breweries run. I don't know that for a fact, but I know it's super capital intense. You got these massive stainless steel systems that are very, very expensive, and a lot of these breweries, they expand so fast that they haven't even paid off the first loan on their equipment when they're trying to expand because they can't keep up with the demand. I mean, it is such a capital intensive thing.
But what if it was a point where, I don't know, it's a tough call. Like,
what about you? I'm flipping it on you. What about you? You got
I
a
would
brewery.
I would never sell.
You would never sell.
I would never sell. Because I believe in the fact, because someone comes in and buys it out and it's suddenly a different brewery and it's suddenly a different beer.
Mm-hmm. Which is true, even with the big buyouts, and they keep
the only one that I feel like has been saved was Goose Island, because they do Bourbon County Stout every year, and it still tastes the same. But there have been breweries.
But their Goose Island IPA is not the same. It's slightly different, I think.
I don't drink that.
Well, I do.
But their BBS
There's very few breweries that I've seen that have taken that big a buyout and been able to keep their recipes. Excuse me, as
Four Peaks hasn't. Their beer has changed.
Their beer has changed. That's what I'm saying. There's so few breweries that are able to maintain after the buyout the quality of what they're doing. Again, a lot of the stuff that Four Peaks does, as an example, they brew a lot of stuff now all over the U.S. They don't just brew it here anymore because they've got the facilities. It's a massive company, and it makes distribution easier. You don't have to drive all this stuff so far and have a quality control. We got Nick coming in to join us, I think, here. Let's get him in here real quick. There you go, sir. Hey. All right, how you doing, sir? You can make that headset a little bit bigger. It's small for my head.
I think we're good.
You think you're
Yeah,
good?
I
All
like
right.
it.
So we got our camera up there. If you want to see what we look like there, we kind of got a nice little thing going with our fermenters and your barrels, which we'll have to ask again at some point what's in there, but not yet. So we just kind of got rolling with things. Thank you for joining.
Yeah, absolutely.
We were telling our people that hopefully you'll be able to pop by for at least a couple of minutes and join us, so we're definitely excited to have you. So
Thanks for being here, guys.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
No, we appreciate the opportunity. This has been so awesome.
Right on.
We were just commenting about how we've broadcasted in a couple of areas that we kind of tried out and things, but this really is such a cool environment to be in, and it's so comfortable and family friendly, and it's been a lot of fun to come here.
Yeah, thank you. It's definitely been an evolution. When we opened, we definitely started with more space than probably a lot of new breweries do start with. And it worked out. We were looking at a lot of different areas between Peoria, Glendale, Phoenix, a little bit up in Anthem. Eventually we found this place, and it's been nothing but a huge blessing since we've been here. And we've definitely grown into the area a lot quicker than we thought we would.
But it's not a bad thing, though.
It's not a bad thing, no.
Okay.
As for instance, the tanks behind us, so we've got 4 10-barrel fermenters and a 10-barrel bright tank behind us. These 5 tanks we got in August. And when we were planning everything last year, because we just celebrated 1 year being open a couple weeks ago.
Yes.
So when we were planning everything before we get open, we said probably 6 months in, we'll be looking to add 1 tank. Another 6 months after that, probably a 2nd tank. As it just so happens, on the 6-month mark, actually, exactly, we added these 5 tanks.
Wow,
And
that's amazing.
It was a situation where these are used tanks. So it was a brewery that went offline out of Connecticut.
Okay.
Unfortunately, because of COVID, they couldn't last through the pandemic, and they had to shut down. But it worked out well for us. I mean, we were able to buy these probably, 30 cents on the dollar versus what they would have been brand new. So,
well, and the stainless, if it's taken care of,
Oh, yeah.
and they do the right cleaning on it and
It was-
passivation and stuff, like it lasts forever.
yeah, they were used for just under a year.
Yeah.
That's
So
a
they
good
were in
question.
pretty
I
good
mean,
shape.
so as a brewery though, you're still looking out for like, can I buy this from here, or like that's interesting because I think people automatically think that you're just this is the equipment, but you're like piecemealing things together. Right?
Absolutely. So even with our canning system, so when we
I
opened
saw that
up,
when I walked in a
Yeah.
couple weeks
Yeah,
ago. I'm like,
so that's-
they got a canning line.
that's like,
I want to go touch it.
that's like update number 3. So when we opened a year ago, we
Yeah.
were using a homebrew Blickman beer gun to fill a
Oh,
can.
wow.
The-
A homebrew canner
Oh
or
my
a cannular
gosh.
seamer.
Yeah.
And that's what allowed us to have beer to go on day 1. And we quickly grew out of that one within a few weeks. So we partnered with Andrew over at Cano,
Okay.
and we bought the Cano system.
Okay.
And that's carried us through this first year, and it's been a great system. It's the same system Simple Machine uses, I think North Mountain,
Okay.
Front Porch. I think there's 8 or 9 different breweries in Arizona that use that machine.
Wow.
And it's a great machine. But we're kind of just, again, looking forward and looking ahead. And as it just so happens, this machine you're looking at, it's an Alpha, I want to say it's a B30,
Okay.
BC30. I forget the model number. Anyways, we picked that up from Ex Novo in Albuquerque. And that'll pump out a lot of cans if we need it to. So
Wow.
again,
Is
probably
it
a
it's
little,
set up and running yet though? Is it?
not yet.
Not
No,
yet,
we
okay.
just got the electrical hooked up for it, and it's currently set up for 12-ounce cans. We want to adjust it, and it has a capability, but 16-ounce cans. We package for 16-ounce.
And that'll be everything still coming just out of here because you guys aren't at capacity yet.
Not
to
yet.
coming out of here.
Yeah, everything will
But
be still coming out of here.
Your walk-in, your fridge, it's only like half full or maybe a little bit less every time I come in here.
Yeah.
I don't mean that in a bad way. I just mean like you guys are going and pushing out so much beer. It seems like,
It's
which
half
is
full
great.
because I can't keep it full.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
what I mean.
Yeah.
That's what I mean. It's fantastic. It's
Yeah.
really, really good.
So, like Pleasantly Hazy, that's been our number 1 selling beer since
Okay.
day 1. We're at the point now where we're double batching that every time.
Okay.
So we're pumping out 10 barrels a batch probably every 3 weeks on Pleasantly Hazy.
Wow.
So the good part about that, and the part that we still want to keep sure, is that we're making sure everything's fresh. Like quality for us is number 1 priority.
Of course.
So even if it takes us an extra few times to brew a beer, but if that beer stays fresher, rather than brew a big batch of it and it lasts for 2 months, we'd rather brew a smaller batch and have it last for, say,
Especially
3-4
with
weeks.
an IPA that doesn't typically
Absolutely.
age as well on the
Absolutely.
shelf like some of the other beers. So you've
Yeah.
got to keep that fresh. Yeah.
So with that, the beer on tap here, and then the beer package, and we're starting to get a little bit of distribution around the valley.
Okay.
We're in about 8 or 9 different areas, both in cans and in kegs.
And that's self-distributed?
It is
Okay.
self-distributed.
Yeah.
But same thing. It's the same batch, so it's all going to be super fresh within a month.
That's fantastic.
So, yeah.
Well, we were just talking about earlier that you guys passed your first anniversary in February, right?
We did.
And I wanted to ask, not that I don't have the time to answer it, but
Yeah.
I got to ask, like, so, you come from the homebrewing roots, and you and Dustin kind of both working together, and you made the leap, and after your first year, like, what is the kind of the biggest learning or aha moment that you had coming like a year later and looking back and being like, I wish I would have known? I know I put you on the spot.
Oh,
I'm
boy.
sorry,
Yeah,
Nick.
I
I
wish you
know.
would've
I know.
known.
I know.
No, I mean, I think the biggest piece is, again, what we set out to do when we opened up was we obviously want to make great beer. That's kind of a given. But the reality of it is, when you can get a good beer anywhere else. Like, there's a lot of great
There's a lot of
breweries
great
in the
beers.
state.
Absolutely.
What we wanted to do is create something beyond the beer that's in your glass. We wanted to create a place where you can come and hang out with friends, your family, heck, even strangers, and meet them here at the brewery and just like have an escape from the rest of whatever's going on out in the world. have a few hours here, a few minutes here, just to escape, enjoy what's in front of you, and enjoy the people around you. And that's part of what we've seen grow over the past year. Like this back area it's like I said, been an evolution. And the amount of people and the types of people that come in and the diversity of families and non-families and out-of-towners and locals, it's just been such an awe-inspiring moment to see what we've been able to do beyond the beer in the glass.
Well, and you have quite a big space for the size of the brewery, which has been somewhat of a blessing because you've really utilized every inch, and not just for the brewery side of it. It's really, when I look at the space and I'm like, the brewery is such a minor part of it, as massive as that thing is. The rest of it is all space that people can come and enjoy with their family and play the games and do the video games and the barrels and the chairs. And it's a very open but a very kind of a fun area.
Yeah, we wanted to keep it intimate. Like you can, like I'd probably ask you not to, but if you really wanted to touch the tanks, you can.
Right.
Like this is where the beer is made. Like it's made here. It's trucked 40 feet
the
over
electric
here.
fence is very close.
Yeah, it's invisible.
To the brewery.
Yeah, I dare you to touch it. It'll
She
shock
kept
you.
touching it. No,
Oh
she did. She
my
kept touching
God.
it. It's like, ow. Let me do it again. No, you get right up close into the brewery, which it was something that I think I really enjoyed first walking in, because a lot of times you see, here's the seating area, there's the brewery.
Right.
This is literally around the corner from the bar, more seating, and into the actual space itself.
Yeah.
It's such a throwback, and I think it's a great utilization of space.
Yeah, and in the beginning, my goal is always try to finish brewing before we open at 3 p.m. just to keep the two separate, because again, it's especially in summer, it's a hot process. It'll warm up this back area.
Yeah.
But I think you and Kristy came in a couple weeks ago, and I was still brewing.
Yeah.
And that's kind of part of what's been happening, is trying to keep up with the demand here at the tap room and then kind of out in the valley, that it requires a double brew day. So it's like I start at 7, but we're still going at 7 at night to finish up the second batch. And at first I was kind of against that, because again, I was trying to keep people away from the heat and the steam and all that, but we had so many people saying that smells great.
For the people
the process happening,
especially
so
for the people that really appreciate the craft beer and the smell of that hot wort that's boiling, and especially if you start adding the hops, that just that's an experience.
I think that you and I have talked about this though before, and one of the amazing things about coming here is that every beer you make is consistently good. As a home brewer, that's difficult. How did you consistently brew the beers you do? Every
thank you.
beer. No, literally, we know when we come in for a style, it is going to be
on point.
Yeah, which is
thank you.
Your classic styles are on point. You still explore and you go out and do some
well,
cool showers.
Trust me, I said, that one time I came in and you had the 18 or 20% beer for your anniversary.
For the anniversary.
The element, 119,
it was still on point and smooth. How do you keep up that consistency though? Because that's tough for a home brewer.
Well, thank you. Yeah, with any style that we're making, we look at other examples, whether that be other commercial examples or just traditionally style examples, either listed in BJCP, which is the Brewer Judges Certification Program for anyone that doesn't know. But that's the official style guideline of beer in general. So if you say, what is a Pilsner, BJCP will list you. These are the parameters of
the color, the gravity,
gravity,
the
aroma, flavors, all that stuff. So I study that. I think of a beer that we want to make. If you look at our tap list, you'll notice it's pretty diverse. We do have, right now we've got 7 IPAs, but we also have 20 taps. So they're not all IPA. We've got 5 German beers on tap right now.
You're good.
7 IPAs, and then a couple other classic styles, like a blonde ale, a stout, things like that.
Yeah.
And with each style, again, just trying to look and see what is the true representation of that style, and basically breaking each beer down to its grassroots. So what grain would be traditionally used? All the German beers are getting continental German malt.
Right.
Hops are going to be from Germany.
Right.
The yeast strain is going to be a German.
Hops.
Right. For instance, we have a Irish Red Ale coming out next Friday for St. Patrick's Day.
Oh, nice.
Strictly UK on everything. So we have a English Maris Otter malt for the base.
Wow.
We've got English, I think it was East Kent Golding for the hop.
So you 100% believe that
exactly
all the ingredients that need to be in it make sense. You know, like
Absolutely.
Which I agree with that, because that's how the style originated. That's where it came from.
But a lot of times we go on brew days and it's like, we don't have this particular thing, so we're going to try to make it work.
Well,
sure.
Supply chain issues.
Yeah.
Well, and I've been there too as a home brewer.
Yeah.
And, there's even been times here it's like, oh shoot, I thought I had enough of this hop. I don't. What can I substitute?
Yeah.
And you kind of approach that as you need to. But what I typically do is I'll plan out, 2-3 months in advance of the beers that we're going to brew, order the stuff, and then just go about it. I think what we do different here, like I said, each beer is its own beer. So we don't have a house malt, we don't have a house yeast, we don't have a house hop. Everything is individual in it and of itself. We use an RO system for the water. So we
build your water profile.
Yep, all the water gets stripped down to basic, and then we build up the salt profile again based on the style.
Right.
So
how difficult does that make it to manage the beers that you have? Because you have a wide variety, and so if you don't have you're not just throwing US 2-row and everything.
Right.
You're very specific in honoring the styles. How much more difficult does that make that to coordinate what you're doing? Or is it really not a big deal?
I mean, at this level, it hasn't been too big of a deal.
Okay.
We have 2 different suppliers. We use Country Malt, BSG, and they pretty much have everything that we need.
Yeah.
And as long as I can plan it out enough, it hasn't been an issue.
Okay.
There's been a few substitutions of like, oh, didn't know I had to brew this one as quickly as I thought I would need to. Pleasantly hazy.
Yeah.
So then
like my favorite.
I'll rob some ingredients from another beer,
Yeah.
and then I'll just push that one down the schedule and order it again. But
Do you find the recipes are a little bit easier to be consistent with at a larger scale versus the homebrew scale?
now, yes.
Yes.
Yeah. At first, the first few batches kind of took me for a spin. I mean,
as far as
everything.
scaling it up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So talking to a lot of people, they say when you get onto the commercial level, things just happen at a different pace.
Yeah.
Your efficiencies get higher and your hop utilization is different. So when we first had our first few batches, we planned for that kind of a exponential
Improvement.
Metrics
or whatever, yeah.
As it turns out, what we were brewing on at home was very similar to what we were doing here. So we didn't have to plan as much as we thought we did. So we kind of over-planned based on everyone's recommendation, but we figured that out. But yeah, the big thing is like temperature changes. If I miss a temperature at home, I could infuse an extra few gallons of hot water to bring the temperature up.
The thermal mass of this system, that's not a...
Here, if I miss a mash temp, that's kind of stuck with it.
You're stuck. And it probably doesn't come down.
Not really. No,
is.
it's an insulated mash tun,
Yeah.
so it pretty much stays.
It's there.
I love your story, though, how you were, like, during COVID, you guys just decided to do this. But at the same time, was there ever any doubt? Like, I don't know, like, you see all these home brew club meetings, and it's like, you don't win a competition ever, and it's like, is my beer shit? Or, like, you know what I mean? Like, do you believe in that? Or?
Well, it's funny. So we had never entered any type of competition on the homebrew level. We were never a part of any club, and it wasn't that we were too good for it. It was just we never had any time to enter, and really any interest. I mean, what we were doing at the time at home was kind of brewing for ourselves and our families and friends, and it was good beer.
Yeah.
But then when we started getting the dream of opening the brewery, it was like, okay, how do we get our beer out to people and get unsolicited feedback that we can kind of judge as true? Because if I gave it to mom and dad, they're going to say it's great because they love
yeah.
it.
Well, you haven't met my parents.
they will tell you they're shit. Sorry, mom and dad. I mean, sorry, Brian's mom and dad.
Yeah.
But
give it to our friends.
Yeah.
They're going to say it's great because they're getting free booze. So what we ended up doing is our homebrew batches were a half barrel. So what we were doing is 3 pony kegs, 5-barrel kegs.
Yeah.
1 for me, 1 for Dustin, and then the third keg, we would split that and either can it all up or put it in growlers and just give it to friends of friends or give it to our neighbors to give to their in-laws. Like people that we could talk to, but we didn't even know who they were.
Okay.
And kind of got the feedback from them, and overwhelmingly it was very positive. So that was kind of like the litmus test for us of, okay, we thought we had something good. We're kind of getting that confirmation from these other folks.
Yeah.
So let's kind of see what we can do.
Right.
That's amazing.
Yeah, and Chris, you were talking about like with COVID. So with us, that was at the point where like, all right, we want to start the brewery, but we don't know, again, how much it's going to cost, how much time it's going to take. And this was probably December 2019, maybe January 2020, just talking about the dream of opening a brewery.
Yeah.
Because Dustin and I, we'd known each other for over a decade. I've been brewing at home for more than that, like 12, 13 years.
Really quick, 10 years ago, though, that was a while ago. So, like, before craft beer was really big, like, you guys have been in craft beer for a while.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah, like my place to go to would have been up in Desert Ridge. What's it called?
The Keg?
No. Rock Bottom.
Yeah, Rock Bottom. Yeah, that's what we talk about all the time. Yeah,
Rock Bottom. And that's where I met Brian Helton. And at the time, as a home brewer, just asking Brian Helton all these questions about, hey, mister, I'm, just this homebrew guy with all these questions. And he'd politely and patiently answer the questions. And
question, though, for you. What was the one beer what was the brewery that got you into, like, craft beer? Like, I'm not talking about, like, Bud,
Yeah.
Beer.
So for me, I would probably say either Dogfish Head or Stone.
Yes.
One of those two.
Because I think we talked about it before we even got on air today with you. Greg Koch was, like, the guy that was the face behind everything.
Yeah.
But Sam Calgione and Dogfish Head pushed the limit so much. And that's why when we talked about the 120, he was one of those guys where it's like he had the beers that everyone wanted and couldn't get.
Yeah.
So it was the first time I felt like there was this need-want kind of thing.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, what Sam did with Dogfish Head is he was making beers that were just off balance and out of the ordinary, but were still world class.
Yeah.
And then with Stone, everything was big and bold and in your face. Like, no apologies. Like, here's a West Coast IPA.
Arrogant
like, punch you in
Bastard
your
was
mouth.
like literally
perfectly named, right?
Yeah.
Arrogant Bastard.
Yeah.
And then like with Rue Nation,
oh my
being
God.
just this out of this world,
Rue Nation
dainty,
is
palate wrecking West Coast IPA.
Yeah.
Those were the types of beers that I dreamed of making someday.
Well, your anniversary beer that you
120.
was inspired by Dogfish Head.
It was.
And that was absolutely amazing.
Well, we talked about it after we left because it was like, wow, that was a lot stronger than we thought because it was so smooth.
Yeah,
it was like,
it's not a typo.
Like, oh, this is a big beer. What is it? It's a 9%. It's 18. What was it? Was it 16?
18.1.
It was 18, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, oh, it's dangerous.
Yeah, that was an example of
really good.
We've been doing a lot of classic styles, like you said.
Mm-hmm.
We love the German palate, and we're going to continue going down the German lineup of beers.
Which is such an underappreciated style, and
it is.
Thank you for doing it.
Thank you.
Sorry.
No, and then even with our German beers, we're even just naming them the name of the style.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we're looking at them as, like, these are the traditional beers that made beer what it is today.
Yeah.
We're not even going to mess with the name.
Yeah.
So you want to, like, it's a German Pilsner.
Right.
It's a Munich Dunkel. Like, that's what the beer is.
Schwarzbier.
Exactly.
You know exactly what it is, and I love that.
I don't think I've been to a brewery that has been able to do styles like every style as well as you. They're clean beer. It's like I don't understand how you do it.
They're very well represented.
Thank you.
Yeah.
I love
every style. That's
going
I think
through
what
those.
you fell in love with about this place.
Yeah.
Was he came in and he's like, every beer that's supposed to be a beer tastes exactly how it's supposed to.
Like, it tastes exactly like it should. It's like well done. It's crisp. It's balanced. It's not any weird. Yes, we did a German style beer, but we decided to throw Twinkies into it.
Exactly.
Like, what?
Exactly.
No. Why?
Exactly. And not against anyone that wants to do that. And that's
Which
what
is
I honestly,
fine.
I feel like that's the best part about what craft beer
Yes,
is. It is
100%.
so open interpretation.
Yeah.
You can do whatever you want. And
But if you can find a good classic style like
Sure.
that, it sings. It is so good.
And I mean, we have a smoothie sour right now called Boss, the blood orange smoothie sour. So that's where we're throwing a ton of blood orange puree at this beer. So it's definitely not your traditional type of beer, but it's still, we wanted to make it beer flavored.
Yeah.
We joke about it. We want to make beer flavored beer.
But is this a beer that I could bring my girlfriends in and they're like, I like this beer? Because like I have the girlfriends that are like, I don't like beer. But I bet that's a beer that they'd probably like.
It is. Yeah.
Yeah.
We have another one coming up too. It was there's a pre-release notice right here, but
Yes.
we're bringing back a cucumber lime sour.
Ooh,
That was a
nice.
huge popular one right when we opened back around last March,
Okay.
April. So that'll be coming up in the next few weeks.
So
Perfect for the heat.
Do you have like the actual cucumbers, obviously, but like how do you make it that standout flavor?
They
that,
peeled them first.
I did. Yeah. Last time I took 30 English cucumbers, skinned them, coined them up, put them in.
wow.
Yeah. Real cucumber.
That's fantastic.
Yeah. Because again, you think about, there's different ways of going around and getting what you want. The the quickest way, which I call the microwave approach, is you can buy a bottle of extract.
Oh,
and
yeah.
like it'll get it there flavored instantly, but
not the
you're
same.
gonna get like a medicinal fake flavor.
It's not the same.
We're not about that.
No.
So
Have you ever? Okay, this is a question. What's your experience doing like fall beers, like pumpkin and sweet potato? Do you not like them? That's a rough beer to do. Like, we have come up with some bad beers, so I want your assistance because you're.
Oh
gonna...
my gosh, we did a pumpkin oatmeal stout one time.
yeah.
Oh.
Way overdid the oatmeal.
Okay.
Which is a thing. You
Mm-hmm.
you can do that. It came out the
Well, remember we were
oiliest,
trying to do like a
greasiest.
sweet potato. We were trying to do an October beer. This was our
October
big thing,
was a
and it
yam.
was like it turned out shit.
Yam beer.
So like for fall
It
beers,
was pretty rough.
Nick's gonna be leaving shortly.
Yeah.
Okay.
we had a lot of folks asking about a pumpkin beer specifically, and I'm not too fond of the pumpkin beer.
I'm not either, but
Part of it was I worked 6 years at Starbucks, so pumpkin spice latte
Yeah, I can
ruled my
understand
world
okay,
for 6
this
years.
is
So
amazing. This is the humbling story that we need. You were a barista.
I was a coffee master and barista, but yes,
Wow.
I had the black apron.
Oh my gosh. Okay, off subject.
Serious
Off
credentials.
subject. Do you?
We just took a whole left turn here. She's
I'm
like, oh,
like-
Starbucks.
I'm sorry. Like, no, but do you have like a favorite? Or do you not even like Starbucks anymore? Or what's your favorite beverage from Starbucks?
Well, it's funny. It's been a journey. Right now, if I went to Starbucks, I'd probably just get an unsweetened iced coffee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I do an Americano, and sometimes I do extra shots. That's all I need.
Yeah.
But like my coworkers are like, I need a sweet cream, blah, blah, blah. I'm like, I don't know what the fuck you're talking
Yeah,
about.
well, and it's kind of the same thing for me with beer right now. So, like, I've gone through the entire wheel of
Yes,
flavor. You know,
yeah.
I remember my first IPA was New Belgium's Ranger.
Oh,
IPA.
yeah, yes.
Yes.
And I remember my first sip, I was like, what the hell is this? This
Yeah.
is disgusting. You know, like, it was so bitter and at the point where I was not accustomed to hops, so I couldn't drink it. And then one day I woke up and I was like, I want to chase that flavor again.
Yeah.
And I started falling in love with hops.
Okay.
So then it was like, get me the hoppiest thing, get me the biggest IPA you can get me. And then it transitioned into stouts and barrel-aged stouts and those big, big, bold
Yes.
flavored beers.
Yeah.
And then I discovered sours. And now, kind of just coming full circle, I appreciate a very simple Pilsner or Blonde Ale.
I think you're like
lager.
that.
Yeah.
And that's kind of where I'm at too. Like I haven't done a pumpkin ale in I don't know how many years. Like
Yeah.
I'm over the pumpkin spice. I'm over the. I'm not a.
Yeah, but you like the dark.
I like the dark beers, the
Barrel-aged.
big beers, the barrel
Yeah.
aged, and things like that. But
Yeah.
it's really we were on a Belgian a couple of years ago. Just going
Yeah.
through those. But the German styles I've really kind of come back to. It's a very simple, very classic, full of flavor without it being over the top.
Absolutely.
But still a lot of palate bang. You know.
So we were talking about fall beers, and what we did last year, we did our Marzen for Oktoberfest.
Oh, that
was a
was
good
honestly,
Marzen.
which I can't wait to make again.
I
Yeah,
have told
that was
everyone
good.
on the planet that was the best Marzen I've had. Like,
Thank you.
No
Yeah.
offense, because you brewed one, but this was like the best Marzen.
No offense comprehended.
But that Marzen was like, ooh, bomb.
So yeah, for Oktoberfest in September, we did the Marzen and we did the Helles, and with both of those beers, like I said, we broke it down to the bare bones. What was the traditional grain bill that they would use in Germany? We did everything up until a decoction mash, which I'm not able to do on this system, but I did a
Right.
step mash, so I ran it through a protein rest,
Oh, wow.
the saccharification
Up through all the
rest, up through all the temperatures.
Yeah.
And then the yeast we used, I got from a monastery. It's from a lab, but it was
It was a
derived
monastery
from a
yeast.
monastery yeast in southern Germany. And I
Wow.
think that was the flavor profile that made the beer what it is. And it's actually become the base for all of our German beers right now.
I also feel like you're just really good because, like, a lot of times that could happen for anyone, but then it's like something, like the fact that you just like, I got this, and this, and then it turned out this great. Does that make sense? Like, you obviously know what you're controlling and stuff. Like, because clearly, I could come up and be like, this is what I got, and it would probably turn out like shit.
Well, the funny part is, beer's 4 parts. You've got malt, you've got yeast, you've got hops, and you've got water. The big sexy one that most people focus on are hops.
Mhm.
Everyone loves talking about
Oh,
hops.
yeah.
Everyone knows your Citra and your Mosaic and your Simcoe and your CTZ.
Your Chinook and your
Exactly, and those are like the big things that most people talk about. But you got to remember there's also malt.
If you don't have a good base to balance the hops, you don't have that sweetness, that maltiness. Your beer is it's unbalanced. It's too hoppy. It's just
Absolutely.
And then your water profiles. If you're talking about water, that's like the seasoning on the steak. That's that last little bit that pushes it that little bit of extra.
And for most times, I mean, water's going to be 93% of what you're drinking.
Yeah.
You know, and then the yeast. The way I look at yeast is that's the expression of what the beer is going to be.
Yes.
You know, because like what we're doing in the brewery, we're just making an environment for the yeast to turn it into beer.
And express the esters that give it that flavor profile. And if they're happy, they will make excellent beer.
We get all the credit, but really yeast deserves the credit for making the beer.
Are you able? Obviously, you repurpose the yeast then, right? Or
do you repitch?
We do. Yeah. For most of them, I'll harvest the yeast and push it a few generations. If it's like a neutral American ale yeast, I'll probably won't harvest that one just because it's very easy to come by and very cheap.
Yeah.
But for the German strains,
we'll hang on to
we'll
it.
run it a few generations.
Question? What do you think about Kvike?
So,
I hate that yeast so much. Like I feel like it ruins all our beer, but I don't know how to use it. So it's
not that she's strongly opinioned on that particular yeast at all. She's relatively neutral on that.
I hate that yeast.
Well, I'd say it's a marvel for what it does. It accomplishes what a typical ale or lager strain will do in a fraction of a time at a much higher temperature. Because at the higher temperature, the metabolic rate happens a lot quicker. I have not used it at all, except for once. As a matter of fact, our mango seltzer is made from a Kvike strain.
Okay.
But I haven't used it for an ale or a lager, so I honestly no opinion on it aside from that.
Yeah, Kristy's had bad experience with just the ester profile.
There's nothing about it. It's
right.
just like it ferments so fast, and I feel like it changes the profile of the beer.
It has a very unique fruity profile for sure.
So I'm like,
I mean, I look at it like with anything. You can have it done fast, you can have it done cheap, or you can have it done right.
Yeah.
You can have two of the three, but never all three together.
Exactly.
I like that. I'm going to say that next time.
Yeah, like for all of our lagers, they run a full 6 weeks.
Okay.
Wow.
Every single time. So all the German beers, it's a 6-week turnaround unless it's the Hef or the Kolsch.
You don't run it like a pressure fermentation or anything like that to help speed up? No, you let them go the full.
We let them go the full.
Because that's the cold yeast, right? That it's
correct. Yeah, it's the is that bottom fermenting?
Yeah.
I always confuse it.
Yeah,
it's bottom
lager's
fermenting yeast
bottom
at the
fermenting
lower
yeast.
temperature, which if you raise it up too high, you get kind of more of a sulfury ester, diacylrest, the whole.
Wow.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So here's a question for you, and I've gotten this before and I've answered it, but I want to make sure I'm for our viewers. We're using yeast, and you say you do a couple that you repitch for a couple of generations. Do you find, like, how many generations do you find where the yeast starts to get used to the brewing equipment and the fermentation and start to hit its stride from a flavor standpoint, or do you really find that it's from day one?
It does change.
It does.
Oh.
So,
how many 3 generations before it really starts to hit its stride, do you think? I know. I'm asking the hard-hitting questions.
Well, it's one of those things where there's so many different factors that affect it.
Sure.
So it's tough to make just a generalization of this is when you should stop and this is when you should keep going.
Oh, absolutely. It's based on the sensory that the quality assurance. Sure.
But I'll say from experience, like with our IPAs, like Pleasantly Hazy as an example, like I use a specific yeast strain for that, and I'll just repitch it into another Pleasantly Hazy and then into another Pleasantly Hazy because we're brewing it so quickly. And I find that after a few generations, Pleasantly starts to lose its haziness. And part of that strain will start to flocculate a little bit quicker than what it was doing in the early generations.
How many generations do you think it is before it starts to change? And I don't want to.
I'd say 6 or 7.
Oh, okay. So quite a few then.
So is this like a yeast starter when it comes to sourdough bread? Like, is it like one of the things you just got to keep it going and going, and then
kind of,
yeah.
And then it dies after a while.
Some of the yeast dies. I don't know if you do any yeast washing. I can't imagine doing that in this size.
No, I mean I basically run it through a full fermentation and then pull it out. So like kind of with your analogy, Kristy, with the sourdough, you'll usually have a mother dough that you'll pull a piece of that mother dough and then make your sourdough, but this mother dough will remain. What we're doing is more or less making a sourdough dough ball, pulling part of that out to make another sourdough dough ball, pulling that out. So you're running generations of the yeast.
So you're not just fueling this one piece. You're more like just
splitting it up.
That makes sense.
At least at this level. I mean, there are breweries when you get bigger, they have their own in-house laboratories that do that.
Yeah.
They'll have a slant of a certain strain, and that's just in a vial and
They'll
say,
take
hey,
it.
get me a propagation of this strain, and they'll
take a couple cells and they'll
Right.
build it up from there, so that there's no mutation or generation
Right.
change from batch to batch.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Yeah, at our level, like there will be mutation, and then eventually, you might get to the point of infection, but we're not running that far. So.
No, I think the bigger concern would be just it changes to the point where the beer is different. Like you
Right.
said, it's not as cloudy, it's not as hazy. Well, the yeast is flocculating sooner,
Right.
faster. They're dropping out of suspension, maybe to the point where they're not even fermenting out completely because they're dropping out too soon.
Right.
That changes the flavor of the beer. So there's
And
so many variables when you're dealing. I can't imagine a scale
Right.
like this.
And it's all honestly trial and error.
Yeah.
Over the years, I found out that trying to repitching a yeast that was used to ferment a blonde ale into, like, say, a kettle sour works perfect.
Really?
Going the other way, taking a yeast that did a kettle sour and then trying to do a blonde ale,
Well,
not good.
yeah.
Because, like, the yeast gets very stressed out from the low pH fermentation that when
Right.
it goes into the blonde ale, you're going to have all these off flavors.
Yeah.
That is interesting because a lot of our times, this sounds silly being a small home brewers, but the hardest part is finding the ingredients we need sometimes. And
Yeah.
then we try to substitute, and it obviously isn't the right substitute. So we tried to do an Oktoberfest, and or Marathon. It turned out okay, but
It wasn't as good as yours from what I hear.
duh. But no, but like we weren't able to get like the right,
We didn't have the right yeast. That
Yeah.
was part of the problem. We were trying to do an Oktoberfest and we couldn't get a Marzen yeast.
Sure.
All we could get was a Helles Bach yeast.
which is fine, but it's
Which,
just,
yeah.
It's close.
I mean,
It's
the
not the same.
local home brew shops, like What Ales, yeah.
Yeah.
They do an excellent job with
Yeah.
with what they do.
we try.
The big issue, that they run into is they're trying to supply a lot of different things because a lot of home brewers want to do different things, and you can only supply so much before you start running into expiration of
For
yeast
sure. And
and hops
especially
and stuff.
those
So they
specialty yeasts, they
Absolutely.
expire. The dried yeasts have a better
Yeah.
shelf life, but the liquid yeast, the white labs, all that, it has
Yeah.
a limited shelf life. So that's
and
a
like I
tough,
said, Adam and Allie do a
thing.
fantastic job.
Oh my god, we
over at
love
What
them.
Ales, yeah.
Trust me, that's what the brew shop we go to. Obviously, so like,
Oh, yeah.
yeah.
Yeah,
So
and I
should
know he's been doing a thing recently where he'll put a notice out, hey, I'm putting an order in through White Labs. If you want a specific yeast strain, let us
me
know.
know.
We'll order it up
Which
for
is
ya.
really cool because
Yeah.
then it makes sure you get your brew day scheduled. You get the
Absolutely.
freshest yeast possible. I mean, they're overnight and that
And
stuff.
I
mean,
think
it's just,
both of us, like you, we'd rather do local versus like trying to just shop stuff that's not
Sure.
local.
Yeah,
That's
to
the
support
big-
local homebrews for sure.
Absolutely.
Yeah, no, we don't do the big box suppliers of things.
Sure.
We try to go local homebrew as much as possible.
And then just the brewing community, in Arizona, I mean, brewing community in general, but here in Arizona, like we are, what I've seen is the most friendliest, open camaraderie of people I've ever met in my life.
Yeah.
That I'm sure if anyone really wanted any help or couldn't find something, you could ask any of us.
We
and we'd help
actually
you out
like
as well.
talked to one of our friends from. He actually came in and shot for you guys, or shot video, but John
JB.
Yeah, and he was like, "Can I shoot this?" and whatever. And he's like, his whole thing is like, every brewer is so open to helping each other out. Like it's a friendship or a brothership. It's not like
It
a
is.
competition.
It's a community.
Because
Yeah.
if you need something and something goes down, that person's gonna help you out,
Right.
and that's really cool. So yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I still consider myself an outsider. Like, we did not come from the brewing industry at all. Dustin and myself, we were...
I still love your
Two
story,
corporate
though.
guys.
I'm just like,
Right.
Yeah, I hold on
And
to that.
when we were trying to get open, a couple days prior to grand opening last year, Front Porch helped us out with cans, like I mentioned, so that we would have cans of our beer available to go
Yeah.
on our day one. Front Porch helped us out with that. And Simple Machine and Kitsune and all these breweries have helped us every time that we've needed to have, hey, I'm short on wheat malt. Like, can I bum a bag off you and I'll get it to you on my next order? Like,
Yeah.
it's unbelievable because you would never go, this is my other analogy, Burger King would never go to McDonald's and say, hey guys, can we borrow some buns? We're out of buns.
Right.
We'll get you on Monday.
Yeah.
It
No.
just
Wouldn't
doesn't happen.
Wouldn't
Yeah.
happen. No, the collaboration between the brewers is it's interesting and I don't want to say odd because you guys are kind
It's
of
unique.
competitors.
Absolutely.
But you're not really. You're all in the same trying to
Yeah.
make it through and do your thing. you
We're all
know?
here to promote beer in Arizona.
Yeah.
I
and-
agree. Like, I think that I've been in the beer industry for a while, where I've been to the California industry and blah, blah, blah. And it's like, it's nice to see that camaraderie here, right? Because, like,
Mhm.
I don't I feel like we have a presence. Not that we need to prove anything, but it's nice to have a presence in Arizona. Like, we've got great breweries that I'm tired of like the other ones being on the map. We have great breweries here.
Oh yeah, no, we definitely do. And that's a lot of the feedback we get. We get a lot of out of towners in Arizona. It's a tourism type of spot.
Is the main industry,
especially this time of year.
Yeah.
We got spring training. We just had Super Bowl. We just had the U.S. Open.
Sports complex is great.
We have a lot of people from a different part of the country and different parts of the world visiting right now. And we're getting a lot of that same feedback that, hey, Arizona is becoming a really hot craft beer destination. Like, it's awesome.
I've been trying to do this.
It's been great to see in this area, too, especially in Glendale. And, like, there's so many that have opened up, and this is such an underutilized, I think, area for craft beer. And to have so many really good breweries that have opened up in such a relatively small area. I shouldn't say small. Geographically.
No, but in this area,
what I mean? Like,
though,
it's been,
this particular area, there is, like, you and Civil Machine and
Front Porch.
I mean, like, it's
Kitsune's
great.
not that far down the road.
Right.
I mean, Fire and Fury's down the. I mean, it's just they're so. It's great to have them. So
finally.
Yeah.
Oh, I know. 3 years ago, there was nothing up here.
Nothing.
Oh, 100%.
You'd have to drive to Tempe, Mesa, Scottsdale, Chandler to go get beer.
Yeah.
And there's nothing wrong with that, but it's great to see beer kind of coming up to the West Valley, North Valley.
Yeah.
I have to ask a question. This is going to be just one of the things we talked about before. What are your thoughts? And you don't have to get too in-depth in it. What are your thoughts on selling out to Big Beer, though?
That was how we started our podcast. Let me brace you here.
Sure.
So we talked about, if we had owned a brewery and
I would never sell out, but I can understand why you would.
If somebody came in and offered you $3 billion for your brewery that's been open for the past 10 years, would you sell it and walk away? There's a lot of nuance to it, and so it's a tricky question.
It is a tricky question. Yeah. Well, I'll just start off by saying you never know. Like, I'll never say never, because again, everyone's got their own price,
right?
And I think eventually someone will come along if things keep going well, and you'll probably meet that price. Then you got to make that decision. I don't hold anything against anyone that ends up selling.
Right.
Like Four Peaks as an example. They were a main staple for Arizona for over 25 years, 30 years.
They were one of the biggest breweries.
Absolutely. And I'll say, even though they did sell, they are still an active role in the Arizona beer community. If any of us want to go over and use their lab, it's a quick phone call. We can go. Oh, yeah. We can take our beer over, and they'll test it for us.
I didn't realize that. Wow.
They've already talked about if we want to do a collaboration, let's do a collaboration. Like, they are here to support beer in Arizona. So, like, to clarify for anyone in Arizona, like, Four Peaks still loves Arizona.
Yeah. I think it's a question that can confuse people because as far as buying out from a big beer, or having a big company buy you out. Because so much of the craft beer is a story and a grassroots and a bootstrap and like you're pulling this up and we're fighting and we're doing and we're going on the. But at the end of the day, it's still a business. And so take the emotion out of it. If somebody comes in and says, I'm going to pay you this and I'm going to buy out your thing.
And you can still actually produce the beers that you are, or maybe better.
Right.
Sure. Well, and the other part, too, is what we've found out this last year is what we've created is more than a business. We're creating a community. There's different things that have developed that we never even foresaw when we were putting the business plan together.
That's pretty cool.
The people coming in, the people willing to help, I envision down the road people we eventually hire and make part of the team. So, fast forward 20, 25 years and someone comes along and you've got this team of, say, 40 to 50 people that are now part of your family.
Yeah.
You're spending 7 days a week with them, and say you're just trying to figure out how to make sure everyone's taking care of benefits and pay and all that stuff. And then you get this company that says, hey, you guys can keep doing what you're doing, but we're going to take care of all that other stuff. I can understand why anyone would sell.
Yeah.
Well, it's kind of like us. We talk about that. Like, no, we're not even close to it. But, like, it's more like we are so our business is, like, fun and, like, we have this, I don't know.
We want to create an environment where as we expand and as we grow, to be a place where people want to come and work within their passion, but have it be someplace that's like family.
Absolutely.
It's not a big corporate environment. It's not a big, it's a place that people can grow and work hard and put in the hours.
We introduced another videography the other day, and I almost lost my shit.
It's a slow growth.
I'm like, oh my God. But you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
I'm very protective.
Right.
So I can see that aspect of it, but I also see where if it could help your company, of
Sure.
course, yeah. I don't think it necessarily needs to be this versus this, corporate versus blah, blah, blah.
It's never black and white. I'll just put it that way. You know, every situation's different.
Sure.
And I'll say personally for us, like, our goal in this whole endeavor was never to become rich or make a bunch of money. If I wanted to do that, I would have kept doing the other job I was doing.
Yeah, because you were like a financial guy. Like,
it's kind of. I mean, we were making decent money doing what we were doing.
Yeah.
I hated every minute of work.
ooh.
You know, and that wasn't the type of life that I wanted to continue to live. Like, we had a passion for beer. We had a passion for sharing what we loved with people, and we wanted to follow that. And that's what this is. And it's tough to put a price on that, you know?
Well, you really can't when you have a purpose.
No, definitely not.
and
And like I said, we're not in this to become rich, and I don't want to be the biggest, baddest, like, take over the Southwest United States in terms of beer.
Right.
We just want to make the best beer that we feel like we can make and create an environment where people can come enjoy it, hang out with their friends, family, and just, like I said, escape from everything else that's out in the world right now.
Sure.
That is the
totally
soundbite
makes
for the
sense.
night, because that actually, like, I'm like, yeah, done. I'm like, same.
That is fantastic.
Yeah.
I have to ask, so what kind of stuff do you have coming up planned, if I can ask you, as far as beers or stuff that's coming in? This episode might be we'll call it about a month or so out, so
Okay.
you can give some spoilers.
Okay. Well,
We won't-
if we're
yeah.
coming a month out, then
Yeah.
you probably have already had our Irish Red Ale coming out St. Patrick's Day.
Okay.
We also have a special IPA coming out, which I know a lot of people have been asking for to come back.
I'm like, ears. I'm like, I'm going to take this off because I need to hear IPA. Sorry. I love IPAs so much. This is my jam. So.
We rebrewed Hopped Up GMC, which is a double hazy IPA that a lot of folks have been asking for to come back.
Yes.
Okay,
I'm so-
calm down.
I'm so excited about that.
The next beer in our German lineup is a traditional Maibach or Hellesbach.
Yeah.
And then another Mexican lager. So we had Uno Mas, which is our Mexican cerveza, kind of like a Pacifico Corona take.
Okay.
But this one is going to be an amber. So think about a cross between a Negro Modelo,
Oh
Dos
my gosh.
Equis amber.
Okay.
So
Sounds
we're going to
amazing.
call it Otra Vez, which,
Oh.
Otra vez.
as long as everything works out, hopefully end of March, it'll be out.
Okay. Well, that'll be fantastic. We're excited about that. Oh, and
Yeah.
I forgot to ask you. Sorry.
Yeah.
The barrels. What is
Oh,
it?
yeah.
You've told me, and I keep forgetting. What's in the barrels? What's aging, and when?
So
do
we
get
got
our
a few
sample
things in the
cups?
barrels. So the bottom barrels, if you're ever at the brewery, the 4 bottom barrels are ex-bourbon barrels.
Okay.
So what we did is we brewed an Imperial Stout, about 13%,
Okay.
and it's aging in 3 different types of bourbon barrels. So the first one is a 2-year-old Wild Turkey barrel.
Okay.
The second one
Oof.
is a 5-year-old Old Elk bourbon.
Mm.
And then the third one is an Old Elk wheated bourbon. So like that bourbon made with wheat
Right.
as opposed to corn or barley. So, and then we ended up getting an extra bonus barrel that is also another wheated bourbon barrel, and we put our 57 Scotch Heavy in that one
Okay. How long have they been in there so far?
since October.
Okay.
Oh, wow.
So we've been
Ah.
tasting them maybe in April.
Okay.
We'll see.
Okay.
They're coming along quite nicely,
Okay.
I'll tell you that.
Nice.
Oh, that's exciting.
And then the top barrels, they're red wine barrels. And if you remember our beer that we did with Kitsune for
Yes.
their grand opening, the Best of Times.
Yeah.
Yes.
So we rebrewed that one. It's a Belgian dark strong ale, Belgian quad.
Okay.
So we did that one again, but we soured it, and it's in these red wine barrels sitting on black currants with Pediococcus, Lactobacillus, and Brettanomyces.
Ooh, that sounds
So
tart.
mixed culture fermentation sitting in barrels on black currants.
Yeah.
Oh my god, that sounds
Wow.
amazing.
Okay, that's gonna be exciting when it
Yeah.
comes out.
Yeah. And we're working on a few collabs as well.
Okay.
So depending on when this comes out, there might be some more barrel-aged beers
Okay.
next time you're in.
Can you talk about who you're collabing with, or not yet?
Yeah, I mean, might as well.
Okay.
So last weekend we were up at Smeltertown
Oh,
Okay.
up in
nice.
Clarkdale
Okay.
and hung out with Tim for a bit. And who, by the way, is doing fantastic beer. If you're ever up in the north part of Arizona,
Yes.
make a trek into Smeltertown.
Yeah,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah. But yeah, he's got access to a lot more wine barrels. And What we originally wanted to do before we opened is we wanted to offer Arizona wine along with our beer.
Okay.
As it so happens, like the certain license we have doesn't allow for wine, so we couldn't do that.
Okay.
But part of that dream was to take some of our beer and age it in, say, if you're familiar with Arizona wine, like Page Springs or Javelina Leap. So say like a Page Springs Syrah barrel that has now our beer aged in that barrel, that you could say, hey, this is an Arizona wine barrel that we took this Arizona beer, aged it in an Arizona wine barrel, keep it super local.
Yeah.
So we're working with Tim on that. Maybe going to brew a collaboration sour
Nice,
barrel-aged beer
that'd be
in
cool.
Arizona
God,
wine
that'd
barrels.
be
So,
amazing.
Yeah.
the exact style and all that to be determined, and it'll probably be a few months before it to be ready.
Okay.
So look, probably, I'd say fall, winter time for it to be actually ready.
So a bit later on this year.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, that takes time to have
It
it age
does.
in there, and
Yeah.
for sure, that's understandable. Wow, that's very cool.
Yeah, really looking forward to that.
Excellent. All right.
If you have any other days, like you said, that you have coming up with releases, we'd love to come in, even if we're not doing this, like getting footage.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Getting footage of it. We love your brewery so much.
Thank you,
So
guys.
It's like
Yes.
amazing.
No, this has
You
been
guys
a
are
lot of
welcome
fun.
anytime.
We appreciate you giving us a space for us to
Of
come in and
course.
hang out and talk. And we didn't finish our original conversation 100%, but that's totally fine. 'Cause we're
That's
so
fine.
glad you're able to hop in and do it.
Yeah.
We will. Every time we're here, we'll always keep a hot mic open for either you or
Yeah.
Dustin if he wants to come over and brave the hot seat
Absolutely.
and answer questions. So
Depending on how much time you guys have, I can go tag out and see if he wants to come by.
I think we're going to probably wrap it up here real
Okay.
quick, and
That's
we'll
fine.
probably catch him next time. Then we're trying to keep him to about an hour or so, just
Sounds
to make
good.
sure it's nice and bite-sized. So, Nick, thank you again very much.
Absolutely.
We appreciate
Thank you,
it
guys.
very
much.
much.
Thank you,
so
guys.
much.
Thank you for stopping by. We
Absolutely.
really appreciate it. We'll
Cheers.
catch you later, my friend. That was so cool. Okay, brief intermission. We had to step away for just a minute. For those of you on
I'll
audio,
probably get that beer next.
I needed
That's-
a Schwartz beer again, and
Probably
then
get
Nick had to kind of step away. So we are back. It was really cool of him to come over. I
Oh my
really
God,
appreciate
it
him
was such
doing
an
that.
amazing time. Also, honestly, it was nice to podcast on location, and it was nice because this time it was very quiet back here. So
It was quite nice, and we'll get Dustin next time. Like, he's not off the hook yet. We'll get him. Dustin's the other owner of the Lake Pleasant Brewing Company. We'll definitely get him on and get his thoughts and things. But it was so cool to have Nick on and talk about the barrels and things. So this was a fun episode.
and also talk about topics that have to do with craft beer.
Yeah, no, it was awesome. Well, I don't want to drag this out too long.
Would you sell
so
out for big beer? Period.
Yeah,
The end. That's
yeah.
the question.
That is the question.
That's what I want to. I wanted to hear comments about this and find out.
And I think you can leave comments on Spotify. We should put a survey up. We can do a survey on Spotify, actually. If you're listening on Spotify, go definitely check it out and see if you would sell out to big craft beer, I guess. And let me know your thoughts.
Until next time, my friends.
Until next time, we're going to wrap up. Don't forget to check out our YouTube channel. Just search for Benham Brewing. We do tutorials and things on there. And this has been a lot of fun. We'll catch you later, my friends.